This is the XDC network 1 year overview reading for the year 2024. It's currently December 10th, 2023, 5:50 p.m. Eastern time. XDC at the time of this reading is currently 0.05285 or just over 5 cents USD. The shuffle video that we're about to play for you was created on December 5th, 2023 at 2:53 p.m. Eastern time. That's this video right here. So the overall theme and behavior for 2024 XDC is a notable decline on a 1 year chart scale minimum that offers an opportunity to open up a long position or close short position. It's crossed with a significant decline again on the scale of a 1 year chart minimum through multiple support levels on the way down. Behavior around the high side, there's a prominent peak that'll stand out on a multi-year chart that we have a significant sell-off from, again, significant on a 1 year chart scale. And the behavior out of the low will actually push the upper, there'll be a big move out of the low for the year, at low or lows, and we'll push the upper end of a range higher out of that big move higher out of the low. It looks to me like the highs and the lows are within close time proximity to each other, so within the same month or so, like within a few weeks of each other. So there's a lot of trade opportunity when you see that. Before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody's aware the whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. We do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. It's a threefold rule, an agreement between those utilizing this information for personal gain and the universe. The universe expects those utilizing this information for personal gain to follow through on this rule of karma. 5% of all profits from the information on this channel should be donated forward to one of these charities right here. 5% of the profits should be donated back to the channel. It leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, the universe considers you an angel investor of the channel. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through on the rule of karma. Don't be that guy who doesn't follow through and the universe shuts off. So first off, important to understand that each card here in the middle of these clusters of 4 cards, which each cluster of 4 cards represents 1 month out of the year, as notated by the letters above each cluster. And the 2 in the middle going horizontally across in each cluster represent about 2 weeks of time, but not each card's energy is going to line up perfectly with 2 weeks of time. So you have to give it about 2 weeks of wiggle room here or there. The sequence of events will remain 100% accurate. Make sure to follow the sequence of events when the timing does find itself off, which may or may not happen. Most of the time it doesn't happen. Some of the times it does. And as long as you follow the sequence of events, it will remain on track. So here in the beginning of the year, it looks like we have both a low and a high, which makes a lot of sense. We have a high, the highs and the lows are within close time proximity to each other. So there's a prominent high and a prominent low here. It actually looks like we go from a prominent peak maybe at the end of 2023 into a sharp decline. Somebody speaks about something that shouldn't be relied upon and there's a sharp decline. And there's another prominent peak in there. So we go from like this trough in the early part of January to a prominent peak again on a multi-day scale here in maybe like the second week of January in the midst of a period of volatility. And there's a sharp drop in that period of volatility as well. An important resistance level on a multi-day scale highlighted, like when looking at a 1 year chart, it'll be an important resistance level highlighted in the late part of January. An important support level on a multi-day scale, again, looking at a 1 year chart near the January low. And there's some cross-reading congruencies in there we'll talk about since I've done the multi-year reading already. In early February, we have a period of sideways rotation along a key support level on a multi-day scale. We should revisit a support level in that period of sideways rotation that was recently a past opportunity. There should be a sharp drop in that period of sideways rotation, and also towards the end of that period of sideways rotation, out of a trough, a notable move higher, probably taking us to a February high towards the end of the month when we have first sideways rotation establishing support and then a big move higher standing out on a multi-day scale, followed by more sideways rotation near the February high. Behavior out of the February low will be a sideways fluctuating rally out of the low that precedes a decline, and it looks like there's a notable reversal towards the end of February. We have another prominent high and low somewhere around the cusp of February, March, in a period of erratic behavior, overall kind of like sideways behavior, but it's erratic behavior back and forth through the same price level, and that'll be a price level that's important on a 1 year chart scale. We'll go back and forth through it erratically. We'll revisit a crest in the midst of that erratic behavior that was recently a past opportunity. We'll probably revisit a trough as well that was recently a past opportunity, all there in the early part of March. Out of the March low, there's a big move higher starting out of a decline from the bottom of a range, taking us all the way to the top of a range. That's on a multi-day scale, or an important range when looking at a 1 year chart scale. On a multi-day scale, big move to reach the March high, reaching for a distant resistance, and then in late March, we have a sideways fluctuating decline that precedes a rally. Maybe like the 3rd week of March looks like we might have a sharp drop that'll stand out when looking at a 1 year chart or a year-to-date chart. There's a bit of a rally around the cusp of March, April, taking us to another prominent peak in the early part of April. It'll be a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels on a multi-day scale. Sideways fluidity along the April low, meaning that we have equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow, and overall move kind of sideways sometimes. You usually see the low more than once when you see that as a low significator. We have a U-shaped dip in April near the high, meaning that we probably see a peak twice, either 2 highs or a double peak at the high, something along those lines. And then a prominent peak and crest and a prominent trough within close time proximity here in the late part of April in the midst of a decline that'll stand out on a 1 year chart scale or a year-to-date chart scale. There's a lot of trade opportunity around the cusp of January, February. We'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. We'll talk about price levels in relation to what we've spoken about in terms of prominent highs and peaks in the paid version as well. We're going to talk about the overall performance of XDC versus Bitcoin over the same 1 year period of 2024. We're also going to talk about where the highest highs and the lowest lows are, the best trades that we see, what type of chart behavior to look for as far as entry and exit points for those trades, and what trades to avoid, what traps to avoid, all that stuff in the paid version. My friends, it's a great way to support the channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel, if you're interested in the paid version, you can get the paid version by going to our website, tarotfortraders.com, and hovering over our services, click clicking on SO Meta Posts, scroll down to 1 year report, click here to order. Currently $2.49 per report. You select the year of the report, indicate the ticker or crypto symbol, and add to cart purchase. Really great way to support the channel. These are really popular, guys. We have people that order like these. I have a guy that orders one of these like almost every week. They're very, very reliable, guys. Rarely are we off on these highs and lows for them, and a lot of valuable information, and they're worth way more than $2.50. Much appreciation to everybody that goes out and does that, because it really does support the channel. And let's continue onward. All right, so we have a sideways rotation around the cusp of April, May, or into early May, establishing support. There's a prominent trough in early May. It looks like probably first we have sideways rotation and a big move higher. We bump along resistance near the May high. There's probably like 3 pokes through the May high, and then a sharp drop off of that third poke. I'm advised to be cautious near a trough mid-May. After that sharp drop off of the third poke, there's a rally along a diagonal trend line, breaking through horizontal resistance to meet a second resistance before pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels somewhere there in June, with cross-reading congruencies here as well. I'm advised to be cautious near the May low, not to do something impulsive. It may be that it looks like we're going to break through a low, or it may be that we have multiple false lows, or some sort of like whipsaw action, which we'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. We have kind of like a move higher into the June high, followed by like a move out of it, like the completion of a rally there on a multi-day scale for the June high. And then we have price swings in the later part of June, probably have like a prominent crest there as well. Probably 2 lows for June as well, because we have this move higher through resistance. We stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through that price level with a full retracement back down to where the move higher started, that same price level. So that's near the low. We probably see it like twice. And it looks like it's a trough here in the early part of July. So we probably move higher into a peak towards the end of June, and then come back down into a trough in early part of July, around the cusp of June, July. In early July, there's a pop and drop, a decline off of the July high to revisit a support level that was recently a past opportunity. The July low forms after a near overbought peak that we sell off from through multiple support levels into the low, and then there's a big move in later part of July that'll stand out on a 1 year chart, taking us into an overbought crest or peak that we sell off from again through multiple support levels in early August into a prominent trough. It looks like the August low forms from a rally along a diagonal trend line that ends with a fast sudden move higher, and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down, taking us into the August low. Behavior around the August high, we have a rally that's halted by a decline through a key support level on a multi-day scale, and then again we have this like pop and drop of a prominent move higher in late August, followed by a full retracement of that move back down. There's a crest in early September that we sell off from down through to and through support to do a U-shaped reversal below that support and come back and reuse it as support. It's an important support level at the September low. The September low is within close time proximity to a prominent peak for on a 1 year chart scale, and there's an important technical price level on a multi-day scale at the September high, where we'll have a lot of volatility around that price level and trade opportunity that I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. In the later part of September, we successfully turn a key resistance level into new support, and it looks like that support doesn't hold though, and we break down into a prominent trough as we enter into early October. An important trade opportunity in early October in the midst of this extreme volatility, and there's a big move higher standing out on a year-to-date chart scale to reach the October high. The later part of October, there's a decline that ends with a fast sudden move higher, taking us into key resistance on a 1 year chart scale there in early November. There's a notable rally on a multi-day scale out of the November low. I'll talk about a trade opportunity there in more detail in the paid version. And in the early part of November, it's an important resistance level that's highlighted that we failed to break through multiple times, and it's highlighted there. Near the November high, we have a period of sideways rotation, and then we get into like a sideways S formation within a channel, mixed behavior with a slight decline there as we move into the later part of November. So usually it's like a decline from a resistance or a diagonal trend line down to a support or diagonal support trend line, and then we reverse and go all the way back to resistance, then reverse and go all the way back to support, making a sideways S formation. As we enter into December, we should have a rally that increases with momentum moving forward in time, taking us to a prominent peak on a 1 year chart scale. We'll attempt to establish support there, and there'll be like 3 crisscrosses back and forth through the same price level in the later part of December, followed by a notable decline standing out on a 1 year chart scale there into the December low. Actually, it looks like we go from a December low into a prominent peak in the later part of December. So it's a December low in mid-December, and then a rally that increases with momentum, taking us into a prominent peak there, and another trade opportunity. This sneak preview for 2025 is the death card, so there'll be an important trough there on a multi-year scale, and there's also a significant high and a significant low there. So the highest high and lowest low for the year of 2024 will very likely be revisited in 2025, both of them, and they may be surpassed, it's possible, in 2025 in either direction as well. We'll have to look at that in more detail as we get into the paid version, and we'll also talk about the 10-year overview reading for XDC and how the 2024 year plays into that. Thank you to all my angel investors following that rule of karma. Blessings to you, and stay tuned, my friends. If you've got the paid version, we're going to get into that next. I'll see you guys on the next one.